I'm really excited to be the part of this team, and like I just want to retell that some of the words I remember yesterday, which was told by Katie, the director from Exchange House. She was saying, arts and culture, it has such a power. It can make a bridge. It makes religions to relationship with lots of people, communities to communities. So we are really excited to be a part of this team member. So we had two dancers. The first one was Sawan Supa. She is really amazing dancer. She's from our school. And next one, Bharati Chinchuri. She's also one of the finest person dancers. And we have here, because of our work schedule and so many other things. So most of our musicians are not here, but we have here very amazing musicians. This is Vishnu Gazmir. He plays this bansuri, and we have next one Bhwani Delhi. He plays tabla, and we have here Tek Gazmir. He plays this percussions, and we have another one musicians. He's amazing sarangi, and now he will be playing. He's playing Madal. So I'll be just playing guitar, so that makes a good rhythm. Thank you.
all right. Give it up one more time. Himalayan dance. All right. We're going to go straight to this segment we call the Akron Poets. Y'all ready for some local poetry? Where are the local poets at? We have Sharetta Housey, of course. Come on up, Sharetta, on the left side. There's some steps over there. And is it Eric? Where's Eric? All right. All right. Yes. So, this part right here, we're gonna have 3 poets do a poem. Is that okay with you guys? All right.
Hi, everybody. How you guys doing? Good. Are you guys enjoying yourselves so far? Awesome. Well, as he said, my name is Sharetta Housey. I'm an Akron poet, and I am an advocate for love, self-love. I believe that love is what makes the world go round. I believe that love is a healer. I believe that love can bring justice. I'm just an advocate for love. So, this poem that I wrote, I actually wrote it at 2:35 a.m. this morning. And it's called Home, because I believe that we're all searching for something, and there's a group of people that's gonna love you in spite of, regardless of your race, regardless of whatever you've been through. Love is what can heal you and take you back home. I was sitting in the house the other day, and I began to think, am I really home? I feel as if I don't belong, separated from my own by colonizers that took the original king from his throne, God. God created us all unique. King of kings, he made us royalty. Hearts beating as one when he put a king to sleep, and out of the rib he made his queen. We are all from one body. Yet history has some feeling inferior. Interior, mind battles won't stop. Cultural appropriation produces wave of distance and disdain in this nation. If only someone could help me find my way home. Loving me as I am, unifying us all, respecting the culture of love no matter the skin tone, history. The word that's spoken or even thought, many ears ring of silent pain. Some of us will never understand the beauty from where we came, plagued by memories of being an immigrant to their own homes or forced as slaves. But what about history? That we have been freed by his blood, that all people are fearfully and wonderfully made, created with many gifts and talents, and if we knew our worth, average would never be a consideration. We are all above and deemed worthy by his love. Yes, there are parts of the past that hurt, but there's a beautiful complexity of possibility in the soil of what made you feel like dirt. So, for the one who feels secluded, as if your history has been planted in dirt to die instead of rooted in water to grow. If you feel rejected by many, hearts of stone have made your heart of love melt away as snow. Know that there's a place called home, a safe place of people who will accept, love, honor, and nurture you the way all of us need to know that there's an answer to every prayer. It could be a different race, familiar face, a hug, a hand to hold, or a genuine smile on their face. We can learn a lot when we expose ourselves to history. Our current will change for the better as we pray and turn our hearts to the one who unites us all. That is history. So, to those of you who are like me, searching for a place of your own, there's a culture of people fueled by love and acceptance, waiting for you to join us. And for that, I say, welcome home. Thank you.
name is Eli. I'm going to do a poem called Whiteness, Part 1. It's only Part 1 because I wanted to write more poems about whiteness. So I am second generation Dutch American. I also have Irish and British roots and Native heritage from Middle Michigan. So something that me and a lot of my friends talk about, and has been something that has been a big conversation for me, is like, what is whiteness? How do you define that? So this poem does not bring any closure to that conversation, but it helps. It's some of my thoughts about that. So, so here we go. How do you define something God never intended? Eugenics, genetics, culture, and tones are reblended. All on high speed, don't sleep on the greed. We took power, money, land, men, and evil deeds, certain physical characteristics, added them all up, and out popped whiteness. We found that armed with weapons, diseases, discovery, and deceit, we could strip away the ability to fight this. Not whiteness with a lowercase w, like European physical features and pale skin with a deficiency of melanin. No, I'm talking about whiteness. Like, what do we and a society do with this? Do with a history, a present, a future based on color classification? It's like the air I breathe, and like a foggy day, if I'm not thinking clearly, I miss this. Because I don't have to think about it if I don't want to. Whiteness. Because to do that will be to look at the hard fact that the land of the lucid liberty and lukewarm may have got rich and fat in some ways that are less than honest. Whiteness. A history lesson. Undocumented European immigrants enter a place as religious zealots, ethnically cleansing the land in order to set up their own pseudo-religious government. Oh, I'm sorry, were we talking about ISIS? Whiteness. Who initiated this? Which demon whispered in the ear of my forefathers to decide that a world based on color classification is okay? And now we feel the panic and stress initiated in our hearts when we try to look history in the eyes. Nah, put a little passivity in the pages. Sanitize it with some statues. Maybe amend it with some, amendments? There, all better, right? Breeding an infestation of historical lies, all for the sake of our own peace of minds, peace and compromise. So we cut the umbilical cord of history that ultimately ties us to our European ancestors' actions and lives. All this leading once again to the truth's demise, whiteness. But didn't someone once say that it's the truth that sets you free? Or will we also whitewash that from memory?
All right, so my voice is gone, but we're gonna still do it, okay? All right. I live life like there's no tomorrow, and sorrow is only a metaphor for bottled up emotions. My words are like spiritual devotions known to cause convulsions, see? Understand that life is unpredictable like oceans. I'm smooth as lotion or ice cream. I mean, if you seen what I've seen, your stuff I've seen may be struggling. Too busy juggling my options like baby mothers giving up kids for adoptions. And my words are concoctions, words carefully selected like presidents. Spectators gather my style as evidence, some kind of historical fossil. See, some brothers find God in the bottom of a bottle. Some call me hostile, just because I live life like an anorexic girl who can't swallow. And I'm a hard act to follow because I don't know where I'm going. I wear shorts when it's snowing and when it goes in the summer morning. See, to me it's a bummer because I'm from a place where ignorance is rewarded and recorded as poor entertainment so poor people can afford it. My viewpoint on life is like playing Monopoly without the dice or buying real estate without even knowing the price. Hey, all of some nights that when I write these compositions, competitions wait for intermission just to collect their thoughts. And I'm gonna walk these streets like a dog or a lion trying to feed a family of 5, but I'm gonna survive like roaches and coaches that win championships. I don't slip because I got a grip on reality like fingers to lips. Thank you. All right. All right. We're gonna keep it going. Give it up for my man William Jones.
So I'm actually really excited for this third set. I have a really special surprise for you, like surprise. So if anyone kind of stopped by our table there, I have some kind of like distillations. I worked with an artist to kind of create artwork inspired by some of my poems. And that poet who did it is called Uglyface. It's uglyfaceart.com or Uglyface on Instagram. He's actually a dear friend of mine, Rob. We came up in the Hawaii poetry scene together. He recently moved to Kentucky and actually made the trip down here to see this show. And so I asked him to open up this set with a poem. So I want to bring Rob up to the stage for you really quick.
What's up, y'all? Akron, Ohio. Man. Okay, two things before I start this poem. One, big shout out to Amber and her entire team. Fire squad, straight up. Without them, we wouldn't have a stage, and without stage, there's no stage, and we wouldn't exist. Two, big props to you, because you guys are the lifeblood that's gonna nourish this scene and cultivate it. So thank you for taking the time to drive out here and sit down and watch me talk about my ideas. So, yeah, here we go. Also, too, I just moved to Kentucky, and they don't have an art scene out there like this. This is why I don't ever get to read poems, and I'm like, it's just beautiful to be here and watch y'all. All right, okay. For my mother, my backbone is a Tesla coil. Sometimes it's still. Sometimes it shakes. Sometimes lightning bolts come stumbling from my head. I use them to carve poems into my folding mirror so I can open them to you in different stages just to show you how much boom that you have inside of your own heart. Stage one. I must have been about 7 years old the first time I saw someone use the Lord's name in vain. God damn it, God damn it, God damn it. She kept on keeping on, and I'm looking back now. This woman was talking to her own tears. God damn it. The alabaster floodgates in her eyes cracked and levied the weight of her eyeliner. Her mascara turned runaway thief, stole the condolences right underneath my breath. I gasped. This woman is holding a funeral in her hands. And at 7 years old, I had to watch this black veiled widow struggle to catch herself while she is falling into pieces. And it was here that I learned that a violinist's bow isn't the only thing that can hear someone's sad songs. This woman crumbled herself into my eyes, and I knew that a human's resonance is contagious. Stage two. When you called and told me that he hit you, I drove. Imagine every single red light as your bloody lip, the black and blue sky as the bruises that he painted across your cheekbones. And when I found you, crash landed in shattered romance and splintered malady. I did my best to unbind your broken wings. Watched you as you howled at the moon until your throat was swallowed by the heaviness of the night, and I held you like a wish and stared at my shoelaces in the splash pools of your tears, hoping that could spell out a way how to bridge this gap in between us, because even though you were right here, you still felt so far, and it is here that I am most careful with my words. I don't pour out the you should haves or the I told you so like broken cisterns of perfectionary swamplands that gutter themselves in the mouths of so many. Nah, I just hold her, and feel her breathe, and offer up this plastic packaged order of words that says, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. So I just keep holding her, like the air in a condemned building, like a crooked sky, like it was something that she deserved her whole life. Stage three. Gentlemen, it is important for you to be a good man. Because the term good man sounds too much like a white lion on an endangered species list, because it's always easier to flock with a murder of crows than to walk with a pride of lions. I am just patchwork pieces of broken women who have paved the way for me to be the man that I am today, in a world where they say that a good man is built from callous, concrete hands, brick house for bones, and butcher cleavers for words, that a good man is gladiator leather and used katana scabbards, and their morals are emblazoned on the sides of World War II bomber jets and the iron skulls of nuclear warheads that have embedded themselves in the grave sites of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What is a good man? Is a good man warhead? Is that what we are? I have seen the women in my life be burned to a mere skeleton of who they are by the flames of violence, and all I got is a bag of stories and a heart that's learning how to water flowers. Learning to see the beauty in how a skeleton can pick up every single piece of ash and restructure herself and to be the architect of her own phoenix. I'm learning to see the answers. So what is a good man? It is important to be a good man. What is it to be good? It is important to speak. What is it to stand for your beliefs? What is it? What is it? What is the answer? Stage 4. What is the answer? Stage 4. What is a stage 4?
It's so wild to me that everywhere I go on this I'm on a year-long tour right now, and everywhere I go I find pieces of home. And even for Akron, I never expected to have my buddy sit on a bus for 9 hours to reunite for the first time in like 5 years. So I'm just so grateful. And he shared that poem with me last night, and it actually felt perfect for what I wanted to share next, which is the latest poem I wrote about a week ago when I was driving from Sacramento to Seattle. I'm just gonna talk at you now. It's called On Becoming Everything. And it's about the last time I went home and kind of tried to exist. I think it's an Immortal Technique lyric, the place that I'm from doesn't exist anymore. And it's about how, even though you can return to the physical place of home, home always changes. And this is kind of a reflection on that. So on Christmas Eve, I float through my childhood home like a ghost, something that exists but does not quite live here. Or maybe, like an explorer or an astronaut, I've returned home and becoming everything I wanted to be in kindergarten. As I ignore the walls, hands that are more poltergeist than person pick through the artifacts of a life, countless journals, gifted and forgotten in under 4 pages, a clay mask someone else's hands made in Mrs. Sano's 6th grade class, a program from a high school play, one of my old faces still with a mid-lyric grin. See, I know how to smile for the back row, how to open this mouth so big these teeth might as well be the shards of a tired star. I know how a throat opens wide enough to suck all the oxygen out of the room, and just when the entire audience expects to collapse into a black hole, a song falls out. The mask is shaped like 4 diamonds trying to become a butterfly, with edges macaroni necklace sloppy and somehow cheekbone accurate. Thumbs find the trails of my initials carved into a paperclip, a name that almost breaks a face wide open. And just like that, I am an anthropologist searching for artifacts in the ruins of my sister's old room. A glow-in-the-dark star from the hallway peels from the ceiling and hits the floor, and I know the sky is falling, or I know heaven doesn't exist, and I am drawn into a space where I grew from an excuse into a more complex and self-aware excuse. I drop the doorstep like a ship's anchor or an oxygen line as I ignore the wall. I hover over the old puzzle piece painted dresser, explore a new bookshelf with none of my pocket knife carved secrets, but I leave when the oxygen gets thin. I I shut the door without ever looking at the crushed mass of drywall where my adolescent fist taught my smile everything it knows about collapse. Where I can read the whiplash from my initials in a childhood bedroom, a name that almost breaks a face wide open, and I became so much more than an astronaut. I remembered when I left home how I had become everything I never wanted to be in kindergarten, like an asteroid or a man. So that piece for me, it's about exploring like masculinity and the ways that we define what is acceptable, kind of like roles for men. I think in high school, every friend's house that I went to, like including my own, there was a spot and we'd be like, this is where I got really mad and I punched through the wall. And it's like this badge of honor that like every adolescent boy went through to say, this is when I became a man, when I let my anger overwhelm myself and I destroyed something for no reason. So I try to write to explore those spaces of toxic masculinity, to push back against these for me, hollow definitions of what is acceptable and what is viewed as all right for us to be. In line with that, my next poem is something really dear to me about kind of like, I'll just do it. So an open letter to Marvel Comics. I've always been confused about your flagship character, Captain America. It is arguably the most militarized nation in the history of the world. I don't understand how our mascot's primary weapon is a shield. I feel like he'd be more authentic if he walked around with a nuclear missile stuffed into his tighty-whities, or if he stalked around waterboarding terrorists with Diet Coke, or if he toted a bag of Big Macs to clog the arteries of his enemies. If the next Avengers movie is prequel and we travel back to 1492 when they call Christopher Columbus Captain America, would his weapon be a flag infected with smallpox, or if it was set in Hawaii 1778 would that American captain's name be Cook, his weapon a ship full of cholera? When I see that shield, I'm reminded that one of every 8 adult natives in Guam is a U.S. veteran, that American Samoa has a top army recruiting station in the country, the Polynesian Islanders have the highest casualty rates in our armed forces. We are dying to belong. And I'm beginning to understand the metaphor of Captain America's weapon. So show me how a man or country builds a human shield, fills a military with the children of nations, is slain. We in the United States spend as much as 8 times of our budget on warfare than we do on education, and we wait as failing schools spit out kids unserved. Wait until the opportunities we dreamed of seem farther away than the stars our people once used as maps, and we ask the question to the young, would you fire a gun to feed your sons? Would you die on a battlefield to build a house for your daughter? See, we in America are news outlets to cry warlords in Africa for enlisting 13-year-old soldiers, while every week I watch ROTC recruiters fish my cousins out of classrooms. See, when the military, it grabs the land your family used to farm, sugar plantation becomes platoon, but when farmers till the earth with guns, the only crop is blood. When war is our only industry, the only crop is blood. In these territories, American Samoa, Guam, Puerto Rico, Northern and Marianas Virgin Islands, the people have no vote to cast for the U.S. president who decides where and when we go to war. So they are a shield with a lip but no mouth, no say what country you will be thrown into next. We are so much more than war's bone and blood fist, more than body made into bullet trap. I will show you how a shield given no voice can still grow teeth, still teach itself how to speak. We, survivors turn soldiers, we once and always will be warriors. We, as Captain America, when your shield, my family, decides our lives are worth more than the price of your citizenship, what will you hide behind then? Come on! about tourism a little earlier, and really those are the two only industries in Hawaii, the tourism and the military. I think on Oahu, the island where I was born and raised, the military controls 1/4 of the island, and it's all military bases. It's just, so it's so hard to kind of critique these large structural issues that can kind of affect our community while telling someone the thing that puts dinner on their family's table is wrong. So it's so hard for me to kind of write about these things, but I have to write towards the silence, the things that I don't see being said, the conversations I don't see being and I think for me, I feel extra strongly about it because American Samoa, I think during the Iraq War, the V.I.B.E, I believe it's called, it's like the written test you need to take in order to be admitted into the military. That you need to, I think for men, you need to score a 21, and then in American Samoa, they lowered that to 11. And Army recruiters would talk about American Samoa as a gold mine, just because people had no other financial option to kind of feed their families. And for me, that question of starve or kill, it's unfair. It's so unfair to me. I was blown away when I found out that written test to score from 21 down to 11, I don't think that's been done anywhere else in the US. So to see Polynesians being told that like our whole value is dependent upon the amount of violence we can commit, I have to write my way out of that. So I think I have time on this set for I'll do one more short poem, which is not as, again, I try to find something not as sad. It's about the Olympics, and since it just passed, it felt fitting. And when I say it's about the Olympics, I really mean it's about depression when the Olympics were happening. So I've been thinking a lot about love lately. And what I think makes it so elusive is that you never know the exact moment you fall for someone. Is it after the 8th pun they crack that makes you groan and sigh and choke on your water? Or during the first song you hear them sing, the universe itself splashing out of their mouth, and you truly believe that this is what scientists mean when they say the galaxy we live in is always expanding? Love, I think, is singing. Most of it is learning how to control your own breathing. It is believing you can hit that high note. It is projecting through uncertainty. It is the bravest I can be while walking off a cliff. No. Love is none of these things because love is the Olympics. Because they are both an unending slew of sports. So while composing the About Me section on my Tinder bio, I am dancing back and forth on a gymnastics floor, searching for the contortions of desire. Thinking if I do well, this brown skin could be mistaken for a gold medal, and this face could be the one you look at in the morning while you eat your cereal. Together, we play shot put with our insecurities, these heavy weights, and we are judged on how far away we can throw them from our bodies. And none of this is why I think of love and the Olympics. Instead, I think of the ways in which they both end. When the buildings fall empty and the places where nations cheered, cried, and broke together are now just a dirt hangover, a dream dry heaving on the pavement. 6 months after the Olympic Games left Brazil, the buildings had been vandalized, the chairs ripped out and stolen, the pools drained and filled with sludge, and these messy concrete arteries, they grow dust. In the months to follow, we still do the javelin throw sometimes, only now they are words or promises, emails dripping with venom, or drunk texts on my birthday. These games aren't a place as much as they are a memory. These old homes of spectacle, of hope, of love, now reduced to tendons and muscle training themselves to rubble. Just a collection of buildings and two people, swelling like a heart, training for another year, remembering what it was like to be full. Into this art and loving community. Yeah, this feels really wonderful. I'm gonna do another new poem that I wrote this week. And I'll just start, yeah, I'm just gonna go into it. It was for a writing fellowship that I applied to, and the prompt was to recall your first memory. And if you could change something in it, how would you? I do like a lot of like older poems and newer poems because I think part of my artistic process is like vulnerability and sharing that and sharing the imperfect, small and everyday. So if you're like, why is this fool reading? It's like, I like to share the incomplete as well as the kind of more polished, kind of like finished. Nothing's ever finished, but whatever, that's a different thing. So my first memory. I fold back into my body like a butterfly spitting on time. A slender memory shivering into skin, becoming a soft cocoon unbroken by forget. I just stand there and collect everything in the kitchen. Fold them away behind eyes that sputter and drool, that stammer and trip over the weight of their own attention. And thinking about how, if we can kind of seize the narratives that we've lived, or seize these narratives that we've experienced, and push them in the ways and the worlds that we want to live, that can be really powerful. So I like, that was another tangent. They're a big part of my set, if you couldn't tell. This next poem is another collaborative poem that I actually wrote for the National Poetry Slam when my friend Chewy Scanlon and I went to represent Hawaii, and we took 5th place that year when it was in Oakland, California. That's not part of the poem. That's just, but this is another one of those not sunshine and rainbows poem. It's writing into the ugly and the darkness and the silence that can often kind of take members of our community from us. So it's called Into the Dark. The Center for Disease Control reports news coverage of suicide set off tangible copycat clusters. Love of mine, someday you will die, and I'll be close behind. I'll follow you. So I saw this with so many friends growing up that I grew up with, and it just happened one after the other, and we always thought they were so disconnected, so separate, and until I did the research to kind of find out about these ways that this specific epidemic can spread through a community. Like, when I read that study by the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, I didn't want to believe it, but it made sense. So yeah, again, I write into this ugly, this silence, to try to make folks who are feeling this pain for the person that I needed, for the poems that I needed to hear 10 years ago. So this last poem, it's dedicated to my mother, and everyone who's still trying to find find their culture, find the ways to live despite this world and despite. Wow, I really thought I was going somewhere with that one. Yeah, this last poem is a lesson for me on how I try to grow my roots, on finding family, and on how we can decide to become whole. So with some of the tallest trees in the world, redwoods can grow to over 350 feet above the earth. Yet on average, the roots only travel 10 feet into it. In isolation, it would be physically impossible for them to stand. However, these enormous trees do not grow in isolation. Their roots, each only a single inch thick, it wraps around the roots of its neighbor a stubborn foundation of brown fingers clasped in underground stand and growth. So my family is a group of redwoods that sought God instead of ground. When my mother immigrated to the United States from Samoa, she taught none of her children how to speak our native tongue. Now, 29 years later, I cannot feel the hands of the land I come from. How do you stand when your roots have been burned away today? I am a tree toppling over, a person cut off at the knees, stuck between a love language lost in the sky, still out of reach. And that is the true legacy of World War II in the Pacific. An entire generation of Asian and Islander immigrants who learned their foreign accents and different skin could mean your family in internment camps. They learned
Their place in the society would only be bought with blood and uniform they learned. Their citizenship papers would only be traded for their severed tongues. It is true. The branches of a tree may spread no wider than its roots, but when parent countries are just another word for poverty, and you're made to choose between putting your children in culture or clothing, which blood would you want? This, I think, is how redwoods fall. They forget the only way they are able to stand and defy common logic is how well they hold one another in Hawaii. This immigrant mecca where so many of us learn to stand with a lost past. We have old, weeping banyan trees who also come from across that sea. These banyans begin from single seeds that are blown into other canopies, and without pity or regard for past, they grow their own way to the ground, sprouting aerial roots that fall to the earth and make a home wherever they find it. And in Polynesia, we have always learned from the earth around us. Now, I do not lament my lack of roots. Instead, I grow them myself. So every day, I am a wind-blown seed. I am foreign accents and different skin. Every day, I fall towards the earth and am reborn in dirt. I am blood in uniform and severed tongue. Every day, I make sure I find a mirror. I lock eyes with myself, and I tell myself that I am the blood I want. Every day, I look around, I hold on tight to those I love, and I grow into an extended family tree. Thank you so much.